No, my mom was originally on The Real Housewives of Atlanta, so I've been featured on Bravo a few times, but this is my first time being the main character.
This isn't just drama, it's a full-blown truth bomb that flips everything you thought you knew about Kandi and Riley. Kandi Burruss just did something nobody expected. She called out her own mom, Kandi Burruss, in a bold and emotional confession that has fans completely shocked. She talked about deep secrets in their strange relationship and said things about lies and feeling ignored emotionally. This is not the Riley people we're used to seeing. And trust me, you'll never see Kandi the same way again after you hear Riley's words. This is the moment fans have been waiting for a very long time. Kandi Burruss is a well-known singer, smart businesswoman, and star on The Real Housewives of Atlanta. She has always shown the world that she's strong, loyal, and puts her family first. Her daughter, Kandi Burruss, has always been close, quiet, and supportive. But now that silence is over. In a surprising twist, Riley is now speaking out to share her side of the story, fully and without edits. There are no cameras, no cuts, only the truth.
Supporting from afar, and you know my daughter Riley is going to be on a new show coming to Bravo, Next Gen. They just announced it last week. Yeah, so I hope you guys support my daughter Kandi Burruss. Y'all seen her grow up on The Real Housewives, and now she's going to be on a new show. It's coming June 3rd, so check her out too.
What tips did you give her about entering? I mean, obviously she's a part of reality television in the past, but to a different level.
Yeah, it's a different level, and so I told her, when you're filming, stand on everything you say. Don't ever go back and try to act like you didn't say something so they can rewind the tape on you.
Roll the tape.
You have to own it, stand on it. And if you need to apologize, but don't lie about saying stuff.
Absolutely.
Because we be having a lot of liars on those shows, you know. We don't want to be,
No.
What Riley just shared is more than drama. It's a deep crack in the perfect picture we were all made to believe. Let's just say, it shows a totally different side of the family bond we've believed in for years. From claims that she was used for Kandi's brand, to deep feelings of being ignored and emotionally pushed away, Riley is not staying quiet anymore. She used to stay silent behind her mom's big public image, but now she's stepping forward. And it's exposing weak spots in the Burruss family that fans never saw before. What really happened behind closed doors? How far apart are Kandi and Riley on an emotional level? And what finally pushed Riley to speak up like this, so openly and publicly? Stick with us because this video is about to break it all down. The emotional triggers, the bold claims, and how all of this could change Kandi's image and her whole brand. And believe me, you won't expect what Riley had to say about Todd Tucker's part in all of this. Now it gets real. From the outside, most people would say Kandi Burruss had it all: fame, money, and big chances from the start. Her childhood was spent in the spotlight of reality TV, fancy events, and celebrity parties. But in her honest new talk, which is now blowing up on TikTok and Instagram, she's finally showing a very different version of her life. This isn't just a cry for attention, it's a cry for freedom from a life built on pressure, not peace. One that is not based on love and peace, but on pressure and performance. Riley didn't hold back. She started by talking about what it felt like growing up with Kandi Burruss as a mother figure. People think that having a successful mom means having a happy home. But for me, success brought a lot of pressure. I never asked for it, I was born into her image. I didn't choose it. Riley said that even as a kid, she felt like her whole life was always connected to her mother's. When she went to events, filmed for Real Housewives of Atlanta, or posted on social media, it wasn't really about Riley. It was about how Riley fit into Kandi's public story. She said she often felt more like a background person in her mother's career than a daughter with her own dreams and voice. But this is where it gets serious. Riley says a lot of the fancy lifestyle came with rules.
It's been about a year since you announced you were leaving Housewives. Did you have any FOMO or regret knowing cameras were back up, or is it all that chapter is closed and you've moved on?
Actually, I feel like it's closed for me and I moved on. I thought to myself when I was first making the decision, I was kind of like, ugh, is this smart? Like, am I doing the right thing? And anytime you've done something for 14 years straight, it's kind of like hard to walk away from it.
People expected her to show up, but they didn't always think about how she was feeling. There were moments I didn't want to be on camera, she said. I was going through personal problems, school, friends, and anxiety, but none of it mattered because everything had to look perfect. I had to smile, be present, and protect the image. And that image wasn't always what things really looked like behind the scenes. People close to the Burruss family say Riley was always a quiet listener who noticed more than people assumed. Over time, that silence became heavy, especially during her teenage years, when people were judging her body, her voice, and even her relationship with her dad, Russell Block Spencer. Kandi was often seen standing up for her daughter in public. Riley says the private talks didn't always match the public support. I appreciated when my mom spoke out for me on TV or online, but what about when no cameras were around? I didn't always feel heard when I cried at night dealing with my dad's issues. I felt like I had to stay strong so she wouldn't seem weak. That one line shook social media. It showed how complex Riley's emotional position really was. She had to be both a daughter and someone who protected her mom's reputation. And she was still just a child who had to grow up fast and handle adult emotions. Silence. Fans used to think Riley was quiet or even distant, but now they know she was carrying trauma all along. But this is what made people stop scrolling. Riley said that things got even worse when Candace's husband, Todd Tucker, came into the picture. She said that her emotional needs were not only ignored, but that someone else's needs were put ahead of hers. What happened when Todd moved in with the Burruss family for good? And how did it change Riley's already shaky relationship with Kandi? Riley's early years were full of quiet, emotional pressure. Her teenage years brought something even more shocking. A sudden change in loyalty, energy, and attention that all seemed to start with one name. The marriage of Todd Tucker and Kandi in 2014 was shown as a celebration of love, partnership, and success in a blended family. It looked like a classic fairy tale on the outside, but Riley paints a very different picture behind closed doors. Riley said in her now famous voice recording, "That's when everything changed. I didn't just lose interest, I lost touch. I didn't feel like my house was mine anymore." Todd didn't just marry Kandi. She said he got involved in everything from family finances to parenting decisions to personal conversations she used to have with her mother. People close to the family have been talking about the tension between Riley and Todd for a long time, but this is the first time Riley has talked about it in public, and the details are very uncomfortable. Riley says that Todd tried to discipline her emotionally by telling her that she was spoiled, entitled, or disrespectful for just saying how she felt. She says that he was rude, cold, and sometimes manipulative in his approach. "I didn't need a second dad, I needed my mom. But every time I tried to say how I felt, it turned into, Riley doesn't respect authority. It turned into a fight for control, not care." Fans of RHA might remember times on the show when Riley seemed to be avoiding Todd or was clearly uncomfortable around him. At the time, a lot of people thought it was just teenage moodiness, but now that we know more, those times mean a lot more. Riley says she tried to talk to Kandi about how Todd was making things worse between them many times, but Kandi usually chose to defend her husband instead of acknowledging Riley's pain. "I would cry trying to explain why I felt left out, ignored, or even bullied in my own house. And she would say, 'Todd means well, you need to adjust.' After that, I stopped talking." Riley says that silence turned into emotional distance. She began spending more time away from home, focusing on school, friends, and later her college life, anything to escape feeling like a visitor in her own family. And then came the part that shocked the fans. Riley said that during a loud family fight off camera, Todd supposedly told her, "You'll understand when you're older, you're not a priority right now." That one sentence made her cry. "I felt like I was just an extra from before he came around, and my mom didn't say a word, she just stood there." Riley calls this moment the start of the emotional split, not from Todd, but from Kandi herself. She started to believe that Kandi chose peace in her marriage over being emotionally there for her, and that she had picked to protect her marriage even if it hurt her daughter's mental and emotional health. And now, years later, Riley is sharing what it was like growing up in one of reality TV's most well-known families and feeling ignored, unseen, and unsupported. But don't think this is the worst part. This is where things go from bad to even worse. In the third part of Riley's full confession, she didn't hold back. What began as a story about her difficult relationship with Todd and her mom quickly turned into one of the most shocking claims to come from the Burruss family so far. "I was treated like a new product," Riley said, her voice soft but firm. And that was enough to start everything flooding out. Riley says everything she did behind the scenes was planned, not for her own growth or peace, but for her public image, brand deals, and reality show views. She said Kandi's team pushed for photo shoots, events, social media posts, and even some scenes on Real Housewives of Atlanta to keep the Burruss family brand strong. "I didn't want to post or be on camera sometimes, I just wanted to be left alone. But I would hear, 'Riley, this will be good for the show, Or, this will make the brand look strong. Riley said it didn't feel like love, it felt like marketing. Even her announcement about going to college, which was supposed to be a very personal and proud moment, became a PR move. She said Kandi's team worked with show producers, magazines, and brand sponsors to make Riley look like a strong, smart daughter who supports Kandi's image as the perfect mom. It wasn't about my story, it was about how well she looked as a mother in her story. I was just a symbol, Riley shared. And now fans have started to look back at parts of that and realize they seem oddly fake. People are talking a lot about one clip, especially where Kandi surprised Riley with a fancy car for college. People now ask, was that moment about celebrating Riley or about showing off wealth, success, and control over her image? Riley's talk about being pressured to hide her bad feelings during big events was even more worrying. People online said I looked cold or distant when I just sat and smiled. They told me not to cry, not to talk about certain things on camera, and not to make the family seem divided. The truth is, I was just trying to survive emotionally, I wasn't allowed to be myself. This claim caused a lot of problems online. Longtime Kandi fans are split. Some feel sorry for Riley, while others defend Kandi by saying Riley is ungrateful or that outside influences are affecting her. But here's the part that even critics were shocked by. Riley says that when she finally broke down emotionally in a private moment with Kandi and begged her mom to stop putting pressure on her to keep appearances, Kandi's reply was chilling. I've given up so much to give you a life most kids would kill for, don't ruin it now. Riley says she froze. That moment made her realize something she had been scared of for a long time. Her feelings didn't matter. Her usefulness did, and she said, that's when I stopped trying to be her daughter and just became her product. Fans are still trying to understand what this means. Many now call Riley's confession the Kardashian moment of the Burruss family, which refers to how some famous families get criticized for putting image and money before real relationships. But if this part shocked people, just wait for part 4. Candace will talk about how the hate she got online from fans made her feel depressed and why she believes her mom didn't protect her when it mattered most. What Riley says next is very sad. Her emotional pain was coming from many places by the time she was a teenager, but it was especially strong in the online world. To make things worse, Kandi Burruss, one of the most powerful women in entertainment, chose to stay silent when her daughter needed her the most. Riley remembered a very hard time when she was bullied online and body-shamed after being on Real Housewives of Atlanta, where she looked quieter and a little distant. People on social media said mean things like, she's spoiled, she's ungrateful, what's wrong with her face? And, she looks like she doesn't like her mom. Riley was only 16 years old at the time, and there were thousands of comments and hundreds of DMs. I would go into my room and cry, she said with a shaky voice. People didn't know me or care about what I was feeling. The only person I needed to speak to tell them to stop, was my mom, but she didn't. Riley says she waited day after day for Kandi to say something or even just post something in her defense, something to show she was her daughter and not someone to be attacked. I didn't see her post about her music, shows, or friends, but I did see her post about them. She never stood up for me though. I felt like I was being given up for her peace. And what's even more sad is that Riley said when she finally asked her mom why she didn't defend her openly, Kandi allegedly told her, "We can't feed into negativity, Riley, that's how the trolls win." Riley didn't think that was good advice. She thought it was emotional neglect. It wasn't about trolls, it was about her child. I needed her to fight for me with her voice, not just with lawyers or money. She chose to stay silent instead of helping my mental health. That time hurt me deeply. Riley started skipping interviews, taking breaks from filming, and leaving social media completely. Friends who were close to her back then say she was very sad and had low confidence. She even thought about quitting school because she felt like no one noticed her or felt safe in her own skin. Riley said it got so bad that I didn't even know who I was outside of being Kandi's daughter, which was one of the most honest things she said during the interview. I felt like I had no voice, no reason to be there, and no one to protect me. I started to wonder what would happen if I disappeared. Would anyone care, or would it just hurt the brand's image? That quiet moment was very loud. Fans who watched the interview filled the comments with messages of support, sadness, and anger. Many focused on Kandi Burruss and asked the same hard question. Why didn't she defend her daughter? Some of Kandi's longtime fans said she might have been trying to protect Riley by staying quiet and avoiding more media attention. Others said Kandi has never been afraid to speak up when she feels attacked. So why was she silent when her own child was the target? Fans are finally seeing the price of being born into fame. In this part of Riley's story, the saddest thing is that fame didn't protect Riley. It made her more exposed, and her silence almost broke her.